Hi everyone. Let's wait a while for people to join. Yeah, I think it's fine now. Yeah, it's fine now. Hi everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to this session. Um yeah, we'll be talking about how to create Yaml pipeline, both in Azure DevOps, using the Azure pipeline, and also using GitHub Actions. You know, so before I dive into creating Yaml pipeline, talking about some of the things we need to look at from the best practice. I'd like to invite, I have two of my guests here that will be joining me on this. The first person, uh, his name is Ademola, to work at the same place at some point. Um, he's going to introduce himself properly. So I'm going to start with him. So Ademola, so now I need you to at least tell us about maybe your position, who you are, and what you do. Just a brief overview.
Hi, so my name is Ademola Bremen. Started my I've been around within the IT space for close to 10 years. Started as a network engineer with Heritage Bank, and then from there, progressed further to become uh, an Azure support engineer with tech experts, and then from there, journey into the DevOps space or cloud engineering space. Uh, Currently, I work with Lloyds UK, where uh, I support the DevOps team as the DevSecOps engineer, day-to-day activity, involving software application development lifecycle, looking at the security implementation aspect of that, making sure that the right code, gets, more secure code is being deployed to, several environments. And so I think that should be all. So don't let me take much of your time. So I'm also a co-founder of AdBless Consultancy, which is around a year or two. Thanks.
Hi, thank you, Demola, and you're welcome to this webinar. So I will invite my second guest, who will also be joining me on this call. His name is Theophilus. So let me just bring him in. So Theophilus, you can tell us, your name, then what you do, and we can start this.
Hi everyone, my name is Theophilus Sawyer, as you can already see from my name tag. So I've been around the IT space for a little over 5 years, say 6 years plus now. And I started off first as a functional consultant with an IT management firm. Basically, we deployed software for payroll softwares to automate their payroll calculations and all other HR services. And thereafter, I moved to Tech Expert, where I was a technical support engineer alongside Femi and Raymond Nicole. And I was there for a little over 2 years before I left Tech Expert and I moved to Wipro. So in Wipro, I was a senior project engineer. Basically, we work with Microsoft staffs here in Nigeria, deploying projects around cloud governance and Windows protocol. And after my contract ended with Wipro, I'm currently working with a company called Software One. It's currently based in Poland, but we have several branches scattered all over the world with our headquarters in Switzerland. So in Software One, I am a platform and DevOps engineer. So on a high level, DevOps engineer in the sense that we manage everything that has to do with the CI/CD pipelines. But in this case, we are only restricted for now to just the ADO. But in the coming year, we are looking at moving towards GitHub. So that means we're working with GitHub, Git Actions, and the likes. Aside the CI/CD pipelines, we are also specialized on the enterprise landing zones. Yeah, so basically we build enterprise landing zones for customers. So far, so good. We've been able to build two landing zones. One was for the Azure virtual machine, Azure VMware service, sorry. And the other one, which we are currently building now, is for the workload for SQL landing zones. So, on a high level, basically, that's just all that I have been doing and all that I have done. So, maybe as time goes on, we'll get to know each other more. Yeah. So, I'll just stop there for now. Thank you.
All right, that's fine. Thank you, Theophilus. Thank you, Demola. Let's kickstart this. Yeah, the major reason why we are here is to at least learn how to create pipeline. Um, not just pipelines. I'm looking at creating workflows also in GitHub Actions. You know, so I'd like to at least ask some questions before we go into these properly. Be hands-on. So writing maybe a basic YAML pipeline, since this is actually the first part of it. We should have like two other sections that should be coming, in the coming weeks, to go in depth, writing YAML pipeline. So uh, now in the Azure platform, we know that we have the YAML pipeline, we have the classic YAML. Um, Demola, the fact that you have been in the security part, if you want to enlighten us, what are some of the reasons why we want to use, YAML pipelines over over the classic pipelines.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Deborah.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay, great. Sorry, I was trying to. So, basically, you'd want to consider Yaml pipeline over classic pipeline because of the easy collaboration. That's one of the key aspect of using a YAML pipeline. You can easily collaborate within the team as to what is being configured during the build and during the CI/CD implementation. Another thing you'd want to uh consider is the automation, because it's portable, and then you can easily automate your process, instead of classic pipeline where click more of GUI steps that you follow. So for YAML, it's portable. You can easily automate the process. And then another thing is, it supports a lot of CI/CD industrial standard, where you can implement it with Git Actions, some other providers in the cloud space. That makes it more if you are starting afresh, it might be a bit difficult, right? But at the long run, you see the importance of considering YAML pipeline over classic pipeline, because of various advantages it's currently have over classic pipeline. Yeah. So
All right, thank you, Deborah. Theo, do you want to add one or two before we jump into some of the best practices and the likes? You
I
know,
think the owner has said a lot, but what I want to just add is I think I saw somewhere that they said the classic pipeline is soon going to be deprecated, and so what that means is it's if there's a best time to learn about the YAML pipeline, I think it's now, so that when the classic pipeline is deprecated, it doesn't become a problem for those that are not yet familiar with the YAML pipeline. So I think that's just what I want to add.
all right, much. So I'll start by explaining, like Demola and Theo has said, there's a lot of reasons why you want to learn YAML pipeline, and one of the reasons is the fact that in terms of infrastructure as a code, you want to add YAML pipeline, and that's going to be part of your source code, which is number one, which you cannot do with a classic pipeline. Number two, you sometimes you want to call another pipeline within your pipeline, like a template, which you will not be able to do with the classic pipeline. There are a lot of additional actions like the security part of this, pull requests. Majorly, it's going to be treated as a code. When anything is merged, the pipeline is also treated as part of your source code, and one of the reasons why you want to go with the classic and with the YAML, sorry. And since we do not have classic pipelines when it comes to GitHub Actions, GitLab CI, and some other ones, when you learn, you are able to use other ones. So, like Azure pipelines, you are able to use the GitHub Actions, you are able to use GitLab CI, you are able to use Pulumi, like using YAML pipeline to write, using YAML to write your infrastructure as a code, which does make a whole lot of sense. So I'm going to start by telling us some of the best practices when it comes to writing your YAML pipelines before we dive into creating whatever YAML pipeline we want to create today. If you have any question, maybe on LinkedIn or on YouTube, you can drop it into the comment section. We'll pick it up from there and we can answer the questions. So, um, one of the best practices is the fact that at least you want to understand. So, you should be able to hear me. Am I audible? Theophilus?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
very audible.
So this is just for for this. So I have another user. Okay. So here, one of the things you want to look at when you are creating your Yaml pipeline is the fact that you want to understand the indentation. You want to understand what we call a list. You want to understand what we call parameters like dictionary, the key values. Then you want to understand what we call variables. How does your pipeline or get triggered? You know, you want to understand the spacing. You even want to understand the structure of your pipeline. Now, the structures talking about stages, talking about jobs, talking about some of the steps that we need to run. So, depending on the platform or the tool you are working with, all these things are just there. The only difference are just the syntax. Like when we talk about maybe in Azure pipelines now, we talk about trigger. You know, when using GitHub Actions, we are talking about not triggers in this sense. We are talking about the on push. Let's say we want to push it. We're talking about events. Yes, that's the best word. Now, if we talk about push, or let's say the agents we use in running these jobs, in GitHub Actions, we are talking about runners, which is different. So it's the same thing. The only difference are just the syntax that you use. So let me just share my screen, and we can start talking about some of these things. Let's see how to create some of this, maybe a basic pipeline. At least from there, regardless of the application you're building, regardless of the infrastructure you're building, you can use this basic knowledge to build your pipeline. So I'm going to do this by sharing. Okay, yeah, Notepad. I'm going to start with the Notepad plus plus. Then from the Notepad, we can now at least talk about how we can use. So let me know when you can see my screen. I'm sure Demola, I'm sure you can see.
Yes, I can see your screen.
All right.
Sure.
So we're going to start by using this Notepad. Currently, I cannot. Okay. Currently, I no longer have access to comments on LinkedIn or on YouTube. Should anyone drop any comment, please, guys, let me know. So I'm going to start by building something basic. So let's start by saying, okay, so the scenario is, let's say we want to build um, a node application. So a node application involves, this CI/CD pipeline that we'll be creating involves like we creating a build pipeline and also creating like a deployment pipeline. So we have two stages in this sense. That's going to be the first stage is going to be our Node.js application, or maybe let's say then test it. Then another stage is going to maybe deploy to dev environment, deploy to production environment, deploy to staging environment. But within this, we should be able to get at least the technique of what I'm trying to pass on. But before I even start writing pipeline related stuff, let's even look at some of the indentation. What do we call the list? What do we call the dictionary values? So let's have an example. Let's say we want to talk about fruits. Under fruit we have different fruits. We have banana, we have orange. So that's the best way to just start it. So let me do this. Say fruits. Now this is a keyword, on our YAML pipeline. Then the next thing, we have different fruits. Now, I'm just going to start by listing like values, like some of the parameters that are actually related to this fruit. I can start by saying, no, I want to do this by just listing. If I'm to list, we are going to start for the indentation. is going to be two spaces, you know, for the indentation. For everything I'm doing, I need to give two spaces or four spaces for. But for most of this pipeline, you will see, you will notice that okay, they are small. Okay, so I'm just going to stop sharing this. Just hold on. I'm going to
I think
share.
it's better now.
It's better now, friend.
Yeah. So I need to. I needed to swipe. Just wait on. So sorry. I can't see it again. Can you guys still see it? Okay. Now, so let's have
Yeah.
it. So we have foods. Now, for food, we are going to start by saying some of the collection, some of the food that we can have. So the first one is going to be, so like I said, we have two
Femi,
two
Femi.
spaces
Sorry, Femi,
when
can you
we are working with
please?
dictionaries. Yes.
Brahim, I'm not sure we can hear you.
Can you zoom in a bit? Someone is asking you to zoom in. The fear, the words are not visible. It's tiny. I can hardly see it as
Okay.
well.
Really, you can hardly
Yes.
see it.
Yeah, so if you can zoom it out a little bit.
Okay. Hold on. Hold on. Ah, this is sorry, sorry. This is. I need to let me share this screen to you want to stop sharing. If this is not clear, I might just be forced to use, I might be forced to use the pipeline to do this. Okay, so I think this is working. So, but hold on, let me just so, I'm so sorry. Just give me a minute, please. Mm, okay, I'm going to share my. Yeah. Just give me a minute, please.
Hmm. Sure.
All right, so I should do this. I'm going to share this one now. We should have a better one. Let me see if this makes more sense. What about now? Um, do I still need to zoom? Does it make sense?
Yeah, I think it's a bit better. Maybe you should go to the Yaml side of things. Let's see.
Hold on. Yeah. Okay, so I think it's
Yeah,
better now.
yeah,
I do
yeah.
150. So I'm just going to use my pipeline here. So let's just pretend as if, writing something. So I'm going to be using the starter. So I'm going to clear this guy. Now, I believe this is more feasible. So let's start by writing, like a basic YAML pipeline. in Azure, I wanted to at least use the notepad, so that I can write the pipeline in Azure pipeline network and also use it. But since it wasn't really feasible, so I'm going to start with it. So this is going to be the same thing. Like I said, we have what we call the structures, which are some of the things we need to follow. So for the structures, we are going to have something like stages. Um, we might have issues with the, let me just, so we have stages, which is one of the things, we need to look at. This encapsulates all the stages that we need to run. Now, we only declare this keyword, which is the stages keyword, when we have important stage. Like I said, we are going to be writing two stages in there. The first stage is going to build our application, and the next stage is going to deploy our application. And that's why I need to declare the stages keywords. Most of the time, you will not see, this particular keyword because if you are only working with just one stage, there is no need for you to have, two stages declared. So that's why you see that, most of the pipelines we work with, there are no stages keyword. So yeah, and we see something that automatically um, Azure Pipeline suggested this for me, and what it did was to add two lines, and after two lines, an hyphen, meaning what Azure Pipeline is now expecting for me is to add a list. So for every list that you need to declare in your Yaml pipeline, the list are actually preceded by what we call an hyphen. So you have an hyphen. So then after your hyphen, you need to give it a space. So I was saying now we have two, so we have two spaces, then an hyphen, then one space. So you can see that after typing that, Azure Pipeline says, yes, those are some of the things that you can actually declare under this particular keyword, which is either I go with a state or I go with a template. You understand? If I want to start writing my own stage, my own jobs, my own steps that make up a stage, then I'll go ahead with the stage. But if I want to call another YAML pipeline, then I pick a template. So for the purpose of this training, we are going to be going with stage. So I'm just trying to at least let's give us the structure, some of the things that we need to look at before we start. You know, um, I would really like to let me see if I can. Okay, let's continue. I would really like to if we use the key, the notepad, so that at least I can firstly explain, the stages and the structure. But let's go ahead. So I'm going to use the stage, which is the first one. So let me just. So now the structure is we have a stage. Now under this stage, now this stage is the build stage. Let's say build stage. Then the next thing for me is now to declare, the jobs, because the stage encapsulates all the jobs that needs to be done, in your pipeline. Now, so under this stage, which is the build stage, I need to now start declaring all the jobs under this particular stage, which is the build stage. So now I'm going to two spaces again. Then I have the jobs. This is done. No, that's not. I should have jobs. Yeah. So I have the jobs under the stage. Now you will notice something. Before I even go ahead, I'm just going to do something. Okay, this is not giving me, but I'm going to. Okay, let's continue. Then under the jobs, still on. Yeah, this is. We have. So I'm going to back there. So I have, yeah, display name. This is giving me what I want now. So I can say build. Let me just give it. Let me just put it there. Build page. Then I just want you guys to at least notice something. So I can say I'm going to explain all these things. And under the jobs, then I want to do another two spaces. Then I have space and I have the job. And this job can be the so for these jobs I can have something like build. I'm going to explain this piece, build and test. Then at this job and to display name. There's something like that. So we have jobs, state jobs. Sorry. Okay, we have jobs. Okay. So it's not to take this. So I'm so sorry. That's jobs. You can't take that. Sorry. Text. That's build and test. And that should take that. Let me say build and have another job. And have another job. Then that's going to be display name. Say build my application. I can have some other conditions. I'm going to say, okay, let's go with the steps. So under the steps, then we have script. I'm doing this so sorry. Just and I've just echo name. All right. So before I go ahead, let me explain what I've written. Now, like I said, we have the stages. Then under the stages, we have different stages. We can have the build stage. Then we can have, let's say, this is echoing. So sorry. Then we have the build stage. Then we can have, let's say the deployment stage. So under the deployment stage, we'll have multiple jobs that we need to at least run under that particular stage. So the first, since we said this is going to the first stage is going to be the build and test stage. So we have different jobs that we need to declare under particular stage. So the first maybe job is going to be a build job. Then the next job is going to be a test job. You understand? Then under the deployment stage, we can have three jobs. Let's say deploy to dev environment, deploy to staging environment, and deploy to um, let's say the production. So let's forget for now. I'm just going to do some things just for you to understand some of those things that we need to put into consideration. Then I'll start explaining these jargons that are written up there. So this is going to do an error. Intentionally, I just want it to. Um, so I'm going to write something like this. Stage. One, two. No. So this is going to be this jobs. And we have this one, two. Then to be space job. steps. Then we have 1, 2. Then we have whatever we want to declare. Um, yeah. So, so let me now explain. If I explain, space 1. So we have 1. Then we have the stage. Then let's say we have so here we have the deploy, we have the build stage, then we have the deployment stage. These are the job for build. Let's declare another job here. Let's declare another job. So we go 1, 2, 1. That's job. And I expect this for test. Yeah, that's fine. Let's have under this particular job. We can have multiple steps here. We can say step 1 is to, npm install just the script. Let's say we have a script that runs, npm install. Let's say npm install. Then we have another step. We can even have, yeah, we have another, and yeah, we should have maybe PowerShell. We can have something like maybe write post, maybe okay. Let's just leave it here and let me explain whatever I've written. Now we are planning to build our application and also release that particular application, like deploy that application. Maybe deploy it to the dev environment, deploy it to staging, and deploy it to production environment. So the plan is to build once and deploy to multiple environments. And that is one of the best practices. You just don't want to build for. I've seen instances, people create a pipeline for the dev environment, they create another pipeline, for the stage environment. And I'm talking about big pipelines now, and they create another pipeline for production environment. And these guys are running, you know, independent of, so we should have just one particular pipeline to build your application. So that's what we call the build once and deploy multiple times. So which is one of the best practices when you are writing your pipelines. So it's saying there is a particular structure when you are writing your and the structure is to have your stages. If you have more than one stage that you want put in your main pipeline. If you are dealing with just one particular stage, let's say only this pipeline is just to build my application, which we will see most of the time, you don't need to put in this stages keyword. You don't need it. And you don't even need to put the stage keyword because we have only one stage. So that is why most times you see it starts with maybe the job, or sometimes it starts with the steps. So if you have just one step that you want to, work on, let's say I have just this step, and the step is going to be just for me to install npm. Then I can run additional scripts here to say yes, install. Then the next line is going to be npm build, and the next line is going to be npm test. Then literally, I don't need to start declaring, the stage, the job. So, but this is the structure, you know. So we have the stages which encapsulate everything. Now, I was talking about the fact that we have what we call the list and we have what we call the dictionary. You know, so you will notice something under the stages. This is just a keyword. It doesn't goes with any parameter. It doesn't have any parameter. The next thing that you are expected to supply under this particular stages keyword is a list. And a list is always preceded by what we call an hyphen. And that is why you will see that we have an hyphen, you know, another keyword which is the stage. So this stage keyword can take a parameter. You understand? A parameter like the display name, parameter like maybe continue on error, whatever parameter. So you need to always check the documentation to see what parameter, what attribute can this particular keyword take. But when you see something like stages, like jobs, those guys, you cannot, they don't take any parameter, they don't have any attribute. And that's why you notice that when I was trying to at least put in a name here, like say build, you like this doesn't make any sense because these are jobs, but we can put it there and say, yes, build and test. You understand what I'm saying? But majorly, they are not expected to take any parameter. That's why I will not be able to do something like display name. It won't suggest anything for me. Even if it won't suggest anything for me. If you write it this way, it doesn't make any sense. So these are jobs and it's not supposed to suggest anything for me. So we have the job, which is each particular job. What are you trying to do with it? So we have a stage. Then under this stage, we have jobs that you want to run. So if I put in something like the jobs here, which is the build job, and I declare another job as test, at this point in time, we call it parallel jobs. So sometimes you will get this error to say you do not have the capability to run parallel jobs because you're actually declaring more than one job within one particular big job. So most times what we do in order to at least make sure that this is not being taken as a parallel job, just to leave it this way. If you leave it this way, this guy is saying, on this job pressure. So it will one particular job before it goes to another particular job. You understand? But if I want to say this job doesn't depend on this particular other job, run it, let's say I have more than one agent that can actually run my pipeline. I can have something like this particular job. I can have something like depends. So I'm sure you guys will have noticed this. Depends on. So if I write something like this guy is saying this guy doesn't depend on the job of them. You can run this guy in parallel. That means you can run this job at the same time. You understand? But if I say, no, this particular job depends on the build, this guy understands that, no, I need to at least wait for the other job to be completed before, I start running this job. That's the same thing that you are doing when you do not have, you know, any depends on keyword in there. Do you understand? So, but this is just to give you, an idea of should in case you have issues with parallelism, this is what's going on. You're trying to run more than one job at one particular time, in a particular stage. So here we have the stage, which is actually encapsulate all the jobs that you want to run. So when we say jobs, what do we even refer to? We are talking about tasks or script that needs to be done in order to complete that particular stage that we're trying to do. So let's say I'm trying to build an application. I will declare the jobs, I will declare tasks that will actually build that particular application. You know. So here, this is just like a basic YAML pipeline that is actually building from what we can see here. So it's going to do an npm install. Let's say let's take out the npm install and let's put echo, and let's say echo, yes, echo install. So what this guy is going to do is, from our own mind, is going to build the application. Then the next step is going to at least, uh, let's say, is going to. I'm just going to write. There's nothing like this, but so let's say dependencies. Let's say install. Okay, let's even say install node install. Then here we can have npm install. So I can have something like this: install dependencies. This one is install. Let's say install node version. So let's say we are building an Angular application that needs to at least, we need a node installed first. Then we have dependencies installed, which on the next step, which is what I'm trying to do here. So the first step under this particular step says install, install a node application. After you are installed the node application, then you cannot install the dependencies. That particular step, what that particular step is doing, or that particular job is doing, is to build the application. And when it's building the application, it needs to install, maybe a node application, then install the dependencies. Then I can now create another job, which I've done here, to say this is the testing job. Under this job, it's still within that particular state, Under this job here, we are going to be talking about how you can actually install, or test the application. But let's not worry about, the jobs now or the steps now. What we should, at least let's understand, the basic is the folder structure, which is first thing we need to understand. Now we have the stages, the stage, the jobs. Then under each of these steps, we can have scripts, we can have tags. In Azure, in Azure Pipeline, we have scripts, we have PowerShell, um, we have Bash, whatever, you have tags that you can declare. Under GitHub Actions, we have just two types, when it comes to steps. It's either you are doing, let me take out this one and say, so your steps under GitHub Actions is going to be, most times you'll see something like this: uses or the run. So it's either you are running, a script, or you are actually performing an action. So we call it an action. We don't call it task under GitHub Actions. So you will see something like this under your step. You say uses. I'm sure you will be seeing a whole lot of this, and you have something like actions slash maybe checkout. Maybe checkout at 3, whatever. Then sometimes you can have something like this run, and this runs your script, npm install. So those are the two type of steps you can have under GitHub Actions. But under Azure Pipeline, you have a lot. Let me see. I think we can see the ones. Yeah, we can have tags. We can have Bash. We can have PowerShell itself.
You can also reference a template as well.
Yes, can you say that then?
So we can also reference the templates as well.
Yes, you can have to. Yeah, we'll get there. Yes, that's that. So here we have those jobs. So Majorly, I'm just going to clear this guy and let's do some. Now, I'm going to start by at least let's understand the basic before we start jumping to how to create the job, how to create the tasks, how to put them inside one particular stage. So, like I was saying the other time, let's say we have fruits. We are calling this fruit as a keyword in our Yaml pipeline. Now, we want to this fruit as an attribute. However, we want to start by listing maybe the name of some specific fruits. Now, that's where the list comes in. Now, list is just something that doesn't, maybe doesn't belong here. It's just expected from you, maybe part of what you are doing. Now, I can have, like I said, when you are listing, we have two spaces before your hyphen and one space after your hyphen. So lists are always preceded by one colon hyphen. So I can say, you understand now. So I can say name, then I say maybe the name is going to be, or let's even put it as orange. Then I can have another list and say banana. Yeah. So these are types of fruits that we have. So we are listing the type of fruit, and this is the same way it goes when it comes to or GitHub Actions. Now, this particular orange has an attribute. At least there is a color, there is a shape, So that's why you will see something like the parameter. So we'll have something like color. We'll say color, let's say yellow. And this is what we call the dictionary because we have the key value pair. Those are the parameters. That the same way you will see something like this when we talk about steps. And I say steps, and I say step, under this step, I can have something like read the script, you know, and I say because script is part of the list, under the step, and I can say um, display name, which is a parameter, for this guy. You understand? I can have something like maybe continue on error. There are a whole lot of parameters, so you need to always refer to the syntax before you know what you're doing. So we can have things like this. Yes, fine. Let's start with what we are used to. Let's start with the trigger. Let's say for us to be able to trigger this particular pipeline, anytime anything is committed to our repo, we want this pipeline to trigger. We start with the word trigger. Hmm. Then these are some of the keywords that you can see that we can have, you know, in our root, level. But I'm not going to use any of these things. One of the things we don't use here is name. And I will tell you this. This is a very good one to use. Let's say I'm saying name should be test pipeline. And people ask, so why do I need to have a name when in my source code I'm going to see Azure hyphen YAML? Yes, you are going to see it because you did not give a name to your pipeline. If I change it and I give this name to this is what you're going to be seeing in source code. That means that's the name of the pipeline. But if you do not put that because it's optional, you understand, then you are not going to be what you are going to be seeing is just the Azure pipeline. So let's take a look at another keyword here. which is the stage that we talked about. But before we go to the stage, I was talking about the fact that let's say you want to trigger, you know, PR. This means pull request. Every time a pull request is done, I need these pipelines to be triggered. So the next thing, what would this take? If I click on, you know, um, enter, then I'm going to click two spaces. That so this guy is saying, yes, I can have branches, I can have parts, you know. So I want it to be triggered every time a PR is committed to a branch, maybe to my main branch. So I'm going to say this. So here you can see that even this guy has actually added two spaces for me. So, but because I want the IntelliSense to work, I'm going to start by adding my spaces myself. I'm going to add two. So this guy is saying, do you want to include or do you want to exclude? So, like I said, I only want this pipeline to be triggered when I have a pull request added to the main branch. So I'm going to say include. So the next thing, this guy is saying no more keyword for you. Now list the branches that you want, to add, and that's why you can see the hyphen there. So I'm going to say, so I can list the branches. I can go ahead and say yes, the main branch. However, I want you to exclude this particular branch because we are testing it. And we don't want anything to carry. So I can go ahead to say exclude. Then it's going to say, guy, what do you want to exclude? I say future branch. So I can say futures. You know, so that means all the branches that start with futures. You know, and I can say yes, all the branches. I want you to exclude them, except one particular feature branch. Then I will say at this point there is no include and exclude. I can add it here and say yes. Another thing I want to add is to at least add one particular feature branch to say features slash mini. You know, everything inside this particular feature branch should be added. But no, I don't want to add it here. I just want to, okay, let's say I even add it here, but there's a README file, inside my feature branch or inside my main branch that I do not want. There's no point when a README file is added to my source code, then my pipeline should be triggered. No, I don't want it. So I'm going to use this to say parts. So you see keywords like this done. And two. Let's so that's just hold on. So I'm going to have parts. Okay, so branch, sorry. So it's going to so it's going to be branch the part not under because it doesn't include an SKU. So here I can have um read.me. And so I can say, so sorry, that's not supposed to come as I can have it as read, yeah, and I can also put it this way. So let me just continue with the same indentation that we have been using. So what I'm saying is every time anything is added, a pull request is done, please include everything within my main and my mini feature branch. However, exclude other feature branch, which is one of the things that can actually trigger. Now let's use this trigger keyword, which is most of the things you will find here when you are triggering. So now I'm going to use the trigger keyword and say trigger. So what do you want to trigger, my friend? So I'm going to say it works the same way the PR works, in the sense that we have the branches, then include, main Then I can have something like exclude, one, two, let's exclude uh, left. So those are the two ways we trigger. Whether you are, you want to trigger, when anything is added, or you want to target some specific branches. Whether you are using the PL or at any point, sometimes somebody can just go update it manually. So you will trigger at a particular time because a pull request was not going. So, but we want to trigger it, and that's why you will see the trigger. And when you are writing, this on, um, let's say, GitHub Actions, so you are not going to see the keyword like this. The keyword is going to be on, you know, and you have something like which, you know, then you have something like include. That's not going to come here, so that intelligence is not going to work because this is not. Um, so we can have something like this. So most times you will see something like this. You understand? This is explaining how this needs to be triggered. I'm just going to stick. So that's how we trigger our pipeline. The next one, the next keyword I would love to talk about is the agents that will be running our pipeline. You know, in Azure pipeline, we'll be using the word pool. And under this pool, we can have for many, um, I think there are just two. Is either we are using the demand. The demand works with the, if you create your own agent, which is, then we have what we call, the VM image or the name of the pool. So for this pool, if you are using an hosted agent created by Azure, you will see something like, you can see even you cannot even see anything else than the name and the demand. But we want to use, a VM image created by Azure. So we'll say VM image, and most times you'll see something like Ubuntu, Ubuntu latest, or Windows latest, whatever. This means what this is telling you is the fact that this particular pipeline needs to be triggered. It needs to be run. It's going to be the jobs there are going to be run by an agent created by Microsoft. But if you want to use your own, I'm going to just turn this into comments. Then I say name. I can pick the name. So this will be the name where your machine, has been created in. So one of these days we are still going to talk about how do we create our self-hosted. But when you create an agent, you put that particular agent inside a pool. And when you want to use that particular agent to run your pipeline, you are going to be what you're going to put here is the name of the pool, not the VM image at this point. So we have something like default, default. If you are using a self-hosted agent pool, name default where your agent has been deployed. In GitHub Actions, you will not see pool. There's nothing like that. You have what we call the runner. You understand? So talk about runner when it comes to GitHub Actions, not pool. So those are some of the different. So here, like I said, demand. What do we demand? Now, this demand keyword, most of the time you will not see people use it because most people doesn't even understand what this does. But what it does is now it works only with the private agent, which is the self-hosted agent. It doesn't work with the Microsoft hosted agent. So here it's saying within your pool, you can have more than one agent. Have like 10 agents running within that particular. One of the agents might be running Windows OS. Another agent might be running a Linux OS. Another one might be maybe Windows 20, Windows latest, which is maybe 2022, another one might be on 2019, and you want to run your particular this pipeline with a particular agent. So that's where comes in. So you can say demand, you can say you, you want to really specify name. If I want to specify the particular agent that should run my job, and that's why you will have this name keyword. So I can say name desktop desktop one. So that's why we have the demand. So in case you see this demand there, and that's what it does. Something I would love to quickly talk about because we have our time, already up. Let's just make use of a little time before we now call it a day. Here, instead of me declaring a VM image Ubuntu VM image, I can have something like a variable. I can declare a variable and say um, VM VM image test. Yes, and I say Ubuntu latest. Then I can declare that one, and I come here to say, yes, I want to use a Microsoft hosted agent. There are different ways we can use the variables. Variables, we keep in mind that they are values that are reusable within the pipeline. Instead of we declaring for every step that you run, for every job you run, you can declare which particular um, agent runs that particular job. You understand? Let's say when I'm running this particular stage or this particular job, the build stage, I want to say, I'm saying this Windows latest is what I want to use in building, my application. But when it gets to the deployment stage, please deploy with a line of. So instead of me now, putting different Ubuntu latest, Windows latest, declare it as very and reuse it. Just come here and say, then I reference the name VM. I reference this guy. So what I'm telling this guy is, at any point when you see this VM image, this guy, you use the Ubuntu latest, and this is how the variable works. We're still going to talk about the variable. It might be the next webinar. Let me just quickly rush through. I think we have one or more keywords to talk about. Yeah, the schedule. If you want to schedule a home job, at one point should this. We talk about the staging, talk about the steps, the trigger, workspace. You want to clean the workspace before you do this pipeline, or the strategy. What strategy do you want to put in place? How many jobs do you want it to run at once? How many parallel jobs? You can do a max job, let's say only two parallel jobs at once. How many parallel jobs? Matrix is now, do you want to run once? Do you want to roll? Depending on the kind of strategy that you want to use. It might be the run once, it might be the rolling, whatever strategy you want to put in place. So let's just use like 5 minutes to take a look at what's happening in between, stages and also the job. So if I have stages now, and under the stage, and you can see this guy is telling me you cannot even put any parameter to this guy. What you can add is a list. So that's why, so just maybe you can see the hyphen there. Then no suggestion. This guy is going to be jobs. Yes, it's going to be jobs. So now it's saying, okay, does this job depend on any other job? Do you want to add a display name? Do you want to add, a pool? to this particular stage. So this is the stage, not the job, because this job will not have, those parameters. Do you understand? Because job expect you to at least maybe to add a list like maybe what are the jobs that I want to deploy under this particular. So this is not going to have, so you can see this guy is still on the same line. So this stage, like I said, I want to run this stage with um let's say two, then I say name, yes, and I say default. So that means I do not want to use any pool at the low level or the root of my pipeline. I only want this particular stage, you know, all the jobs there needs to be on this my self-hosted agent, not on Microsoft hosted agent. I can declare another stage and have that run on the Microsoft agent. So that is why you can see I've actually, opted for on that. So under the stage, because like I said, these ones can take, parameters. So I can have um, display name. This is something you not want to always miss out. If you don't put a display name to your stage or to your job, to your step, when you create a pipeline, the pipeline is just going to be looking like you have the same keyword or some other keywords. You will not even know what step of your pipeline is currently being run. So that's why you want to always have a display name. Say this stage is where you build. This stage is where you build and test. So this is not going to work, but however, so I can just put in. Um, yeah, the jobs. Like I said, now we have jobs. This job also can take the same thing we have added to this because it's a list, and this list can come with different parameters like the display name. Um, we can have depends on does this job depends on any job. If I pick um, a step, let's say those are steps. Under these steps, then I can start saying under these steps, I can have something like the script. You understand? Or you want to even your step, then you can have no, sorry. So you can have scripts. You can have let's say script here. I can say echo. Um, okay, okay, echo. I want to echo this particular variable. Echo variable. Echo. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you'll see it this way. I have the dollar sign inside, So, so that's called inline test. So I'm just going to go with this so echo variable, and this what this is going to tell me is we're going to put, this particular Ubuntu latest out. So let's even run this guy at the end of the day. So I'm going to use um, VM image. I'm going to use Windows latest. Yeah. So we can have steps. I can have like a bash. I can have, you can see, we can do checkout. Depending on the task you're performing, we can do download. Let's say you want to download an artifact, from a particular maybe website. You can get package. You can do PowerShell. You can do script. You can even have a template like Theo suggested. Yeah, I'm just going to put the name. Let's say, yeah, I'm going to have something like Azure. You know, I'm just going to treat it as I can have something like Azure. Um, Yeah, Azure pipeline. You know, yeah, I can have something that this dot YAML. So your template, you can call a template within your stage. We can call a template within a particular job. You can even call a template within a particular step. You know, so these are some of the things you want to understand. So when we have list, a list is it comes, pre-configured with everything. Then we have what we call the parameters, which are the attributes to that particular, it might be to that particular list, to that particular item. So this is an attribute, all this display name you can see for this particular job. Sometimes you see something like this. These are just what we call yeah, a dictionary words, but they are not going to be treated as an attribute because they are what is expected. So you cannot have more than one of these at this particular time. Is either you are using one of them. Is either I'm using a Microsoft hosted agent or I'm using a service agent. And that's why you can see I'm not using a list here. Doesn't make any sense because you can only have one. But where you have list, I can have multiple. The same way under this job, I have another job because I can have multiple jobs. It might be a deployment job, it might be a job, or I can even call it template. You understand? And that's why when you see a list can take an attribute, you know. So um, yeah. So basically, we can go to we can have another stage to say yes, same thing on two, then we can have something like this. Yes, this stage depends on because we don't want this guy to run except the build stage is completed, you know. So we can have something like depends on the build. So we can have why are you so we have the stage, one space. Yeah. So that was why it was giving me that error. So now I'm telling this guy this is the deployment stage. Then this actually is on the build. Like I said the other time, if you do not put in any, name or the depends on keyword here, it's going to treat it sequential. So it's going to complete the stage before it completes, it starts working on the deployment. However, if you want to run this, sequentially at the same time, what I'm just going to do is this depends on I'm going to make it empty. And this guy, what I'm telling this guy is don't wait for the build to complete, you know, before you can start running, this deployment stage also, which does make sense. So basically, like I said, today is just for us to get the basic, talk about the indentation, the spacing, what are the structures that we need to follow, and like we've explained the stages, the jobs, the script, the steps. Then what are some of the keywords like the trigger keyword, the pull request keyword, variables if you want to reuse a particular value within that particular. So these are some of the things that we need to look at. Do we have any questions from anyone so that we can just take a look at that and continue?
Yeah, I think someone has a question. It says, do you run the GitHub Actions in the same environment, or you have to launch it differently? So I think
No,
not sure.
no, we cannot run. No, we cannot run. We cannot run GitHub in the same environment. So we need to run the GitHub inside the GitHub because when you are creating, let me just take you back to hold on, hold on. I want to take you back to um, oh, I missed what I was sharing. So I'm going to stop sharing and so that I can share. Mm, okay, this was what I was sharing. Okay, that was what I was sharing. Okay, that's okay. Let me know when you can see the screen. Okay, I think this is fine. Now, when you are creating your GitHub action, we don't have something like this to create your GitHub action. You have to create your GitHub action. Okay, let me see if I can have. Okay, so I'm just going to use this as. So GitHub actions in GitHub, we have something we call the .github slash workflows. So for every pipeline that we create in GitHub, we don't call them pipelines because they are not pipelines in GitHub. According to him, they, they are called workflows. And that is why for all the workflows that you create in GitHub, you have them saved under this particular folder, which is the GitHub slash workflow. Then is followed by the name of your GitHub action. It might be test, it might be app. So they are not called. So we only run that under the GitHub action. That was why I was trying to use the notepad so that this doesn't seem as if we are only building the Azure pipelines. I wanted to use the notepad so that I can show you the differences between writing a workflow in GitHub and also writing you know um, um, pipelines, the main pipelines in Azure. So your workflow is what we talk about when we talk about GitHub Actions. And like I said, there are some differences in GitHub Actions. We don't talk about um, tags. We don't call it tags. Like some of the tags that you say, okay, when you want to build your application, you can add the copy tags to copy whatever has been built, from the sources directory into the artifact staging directory. We don't have something like that. So in GitHub Actions, after your steps will always be like something like this. And I'm sure you will notice you have something like step uses, then it's going to be actions slash um, maybe checkout, or let's say node setup, node setup. Yeah, let's say something just similar to this. Then you can have something like, let's say I want to install Node 16. You'll see something like with. Then you can have the version to say um, 16, 16.0 or something. So this is how we when we want to create any task. This is how we declare the task. Or if you're running a script, you will see something like one. Then you can do npm install. So you don't see something like um, script. Then so even if you see something like this, then you have to add your run to it. So GitHub Actions is different. We have workflows and we have where you deploy your GitHub action, which is actually within your workflow inside your GitHub environment. It's different from the Azure environment, the Azure DevOps environment, which uses the pipeline as its own. So, and also in GitHub, we don't say we want to trigger. You will see we, the keyword there is event. You will not see the trigger keyword, you will see the on keyword. So this is not where GitHub Actions. I think the next webinar we're going to be looking more into GitHub Actions, how we can actually at least deploy an instance of an application, maybe a node application. Then we can also deploy that same application using the Yaml pipeline. Any other question from there? Let's see.
No, I think that's all the questions we have.
All right. Okay. So I think we can call it a day. I would like to thank you guys for joining on this, even when I had to invite you guys a day two. So we'll do more of this. The next one is going to be for us to now maybe the part two, where we now at least create the main pipeline for a real application, maybe a node application or a .NET application, and have this application built and deployed maybe to app service or a virtual machine. We'll also be looking at how we can actually create our own server-side agents and use this service agent to deploy application. Then same thing on the GitHub Actions. There may be at some point in time, because for once you understand the Azure pipeline and understand the GitHub Actions, then you can also have that knowledge push to the GitLab CI. So regardless of the tool, since it's just YAML, you can use that for tools. All right, so we'll call it a day here. And, thank you. Thank everyone for joining. We appreciate it. Bye, everyone.
All right, bye, guys.